Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the top 10 of my 100 games of all time, which I do every year, so it's not as special as it might seem, although there is a few changes into our top 10. 2 new entries actually made it in, 1 brand new to the top 100, and 1, well, we'll talk about that in our next video. Sorry this video is a week late, but hey, we're here. We're very excited about this, so let's get to number 10.
Number 10, Thunderstone.
Here's a new one that moved up a bit, and I'm kind of surprised that it did so, at least initially, but I find myself playing this quite a bit. Thunderstone. When I first played Thunderstone, I said essentially that it felt like it was, I didn't use the word ripoff of Dominion, but it felt kind of like that, it felt kind of like a Dominion clone almost. But that was done with a fantasy theme. Well, after several expansions, they diversified it to some degree, but it wasn't until Richard Launius told me about how he played Thunderstone, something we now actually call Epic Thunderstone. And I've done a video on it that you can check and look up Epic Thunderstone, and you'll see how we play, but essentially, we use everything. And by playing it this way, I look forward to each expansion with just total enthusiasm to see what new cards I can put in. And if you just saw my last video, you saw Dominion, which is still a favorite game of mine, and number 11 is a game that I very much enjoy. But here we have Thunderstone beating it out, mostly because I mean, the latest Dominion expansion came out, and I said, woo, yay, that's exciting. The latest Thunderstone expansion came out, and I'm like, all right, come on, what can we see? And it doesn't even feel like a deck-building game anymore played this way. So maybe you can take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but really, anybody can play the Epic Thunderstone way, and you can play the original way, which is decent. But playing it the Epic way, where we use everything, and I have things separated in different piles now, and it works so smoothly and so well, and it's so fun, and it's so rich and thematic. It's great. And so I had to say Thunderstone easily is my number 10.
Number 9, Starfleet Star Captain.
And here's a game now that just comes smashing into the top 100, into the top 10. Doesn't happen very often, but wow, do I love this game, Star Trek Fleet Captains. Now, I issued a glowing review of the game this year, and a lot of people I see agree with me. Some people were annoyed about the components of the game, and I didn't really have any major problems with mine, where there were models breaking, even though WizKids did replace those. And I could see the people's complaints about the cards and the tiles being thin cardstock. It could have been better cardstock. But the reason I enjoy this game so much, if you've watched my reviews or top 100 at any point in time now, you realize that theme is massively important with me. I want a game to be chock full of theme, and this one is. This one feels like a Star Trek season as you go through and you move your ships around. There is combat, there's exploration missions, there's transporting, there's communications, there's all sorts of things, and this is just a base game. I'm assuming expansions are around the corner. Maybe they're not. And if they're not, I still love the game. It's so exciting to see the different things, the Klingons, and to see all the people from all the different TV shows. I mean, it's like they took Star Trek in a bucket and threw it into the game, and it hit, and it looks wonderful. It seems to run smoothly. Probably the biggest disadvantage is that it's a 2-player game, but I get such a kick out of trying it out and moving ships around, and so this one, number 9, Star Trek Fleet Captains.
Number 8, Le Havre.
Now, I give a lot of grief to games that I call cube pushers, or resource games, where you sell this resource to get this resource to get this resource. And there is a lot of them out there. And Le Havre really is kind of like that way. There's no cubes in it, but there's little resources. You can sell coal, you can get coke, you can turn cattle into meat, and you can sell this for that, and there's different buildings, and there's worker placement. And it's one of those games that you know, if I had heard about it, I said, you know, even when I first saw the box, I said, you know, okay, we'll try it out. But I was blown away, and I still very much enjoy this game. Now, I enjoy it most as a 2- or 3-player game. I think when you get beyond that, the game can drag out a bit. But 2 or 3 players, it's just a fascinating, fun, back-and-forth game. And what I love about Le Havre is the fact that every decision I make in the game is a fun decision. In essence, I'm saying, I can do some wonderful thing, or I can do this cool thing, or I can do this good thing. And even the thing of all those which I dislike the least is still a good thing. Which other games, sometimes you're like, I got to do this to survive, or I have to do this action. And some games feel like work, but Le Havre to me never felt like work because I'm just like, woo, look what I got. Oh, look at that. I just did that. And the buildings make sense, and the special buildings are different every game. There's a smidge of humor in the game, but a lot of just interesting back and forth. And when you're selling all the goods and doing it, it makes sense as to how they work. It just, the theme fits right in there. And I always talk about shipping games, you know, another shipping game. But I don't have a problem with the shipping theme in general, and here I think it's done at its best. So let's move on to other themes. But for the shipping theme itself, you have your one game, Le Havre, and it works well.
Number 7, Fantasy Ground Warfare.
Fantasy Warfare.
Number 9.
Number 7.
Number 7. War Command and War of the Knights.
Alright, next. This is board game reviews, not miniature game reviews. I've stepped out of miniatures. And Battleground Fantasy Warfare is frankly a miniatures game without miniatures. And is that still a miniatures game? Well, yeah, it is. Because in Battleground Fantasy Warfare, you're using cards as your miniatures. And you move these cards around the board, and you attack other players with them. But what's really neat about Battleground Fantasy Miniatures, or if you will, Battleground Historical Warfare, because they have Rome versus Carthage and other factions on the way. But we have different factions, and there's like, I think, 13 different factions now, and each faction plays very differently. The aspect of writing on the cards is fun and interesting, and you know, incidentally, has been copied by other companies. I've seen other games that come out, while none of these companies have really been able to capture what Battleground Fantasy Warfare did. Look, I don't recommend this game for everybody. I don't. It's a very tough, meaty game to some degree. You have to know tactics. I'm terrible at it. I have never won, and yet I like it. I think it's entertaining. I mean, I'm sure it's just I'm a horrible tactician, but just I like moving the armies. I like using the half-giant catapult. I like running in with the Death Knights. I like seeing I like using a T-Rex in a game. Come on now, that's just cool. And it's just neat to see the units. You get a ton of units. You never have to play the same army twice. The variety, obviously, is something that really appeals to me. And so this is a game that I am just absolutely still liking years after it came out, and each year I'm kind of watching the wings saying, what army is going to come out now, and how's that going to interact with every army out there now? When Rome vs. Carthage came out, I didn't say, ooh, a historical battle. I said, how's Rome going to hold up against the dinosaurs? How's Carthage going to do against an army of the undead? Because that's what matters to me. Your mileage may vary, but if you think any kind of historical miniature game or fantasy miniature game sounds interesting, you should certainly check it out.
Number 6, Memoir 34. And Commander Agents.
And once again, I pull something cheesy, using 2 games in this list, because I honestly cannot tell you which one I like better. On one hand, we have Memoir 44, battling in World War II with plastic miniatures, such an easy setup and takedown, constant expansions letting you use the Japanese and the Russians and the Italians, just fantastic fun with an Overlord expansion and scenarios that you can play which rival any fun that I've ever had playing any game. And on the other hand, we have Commands and Colors Ancients, which is designed by the same designer, uses the same system. And you'll notice that these are my 2 favorite. I do like Commands and Colors Napoleonics, and I do like Battle Lore, but I don't like them as much as these 2. And then, there, of course, there's the original Civil War version, Battle Cry, which, you know, none of those 3 are bad games. But the 2 best are Memoir 44 and Commands and Colors Ancients, which Commands and Colors Ancients has nice wooden blocks with stickers on them. They look great, and emphasizes line moving. Definitely has more strategy than Memoir 44. Has some very interesting historical battles, and has tons of different kinds of units that interact with one another. Which one do I like better? I honestly can't tell you. I play Memoir 44 more because of the simplicity. It's easy to play. A lot more people kind of have some kind of mental relation somewhat with a World War II theme that it's easier for them to get into. But my Battles of Commands and Colors Ancients are so much more strategic and interesting and back and forth. So I really like both. For both of them, they take up a good chunk. For Memoir 44, I have a giant bag. I mean, look at this thing. It's over here. I can barely fit everything in it, and it really weighs a ton. I don't know how I would ever transport this around. And for Commands and Colors Ancients, I got 4 boxes that take up this much room on my shelf, and that's not all the expansion boxes. That's all the room I had. I put more stickers on, so I'm sick of stickers, but okay, I'm digressing. They're both really great games. And if I could only have one, yeah, I can't even answer that question, honestly. It would be a really tough call for me. So, lots of fun. Richard Borg is a fantastic designer, and I'm glad he made both these wonderful games. Whew, there we go. The top 5 are next time. We're almost there, and by next time, they're already posted, so you can go look at them, because I'm posting these back to back. But it is interesting to see mine compared to yours. You can also go check out Melody's Top 100, the People's Choice Top 100. Their 10 through 6 are different than mine quite a bit. So check those out and come back here and let's see what the 5 best are next time.
Tom Vasel's Top 100 Games of All Time.